Because I knew what was involved in applying for the tax exemption, I seriously considered doing the work myself. But when it was all said and done, some 6, 7 months later, I really was glad that I worked with AeroMarine tax professionals. They knew things I did not know. We were able to take advantage of important flying opportunities that I did not know would qualify for the interstate tax exemption. And it was very clear to me, especially in retrospect, that we had made the right decision to have somebody else help us rather than try and do it ourselves. So I'm Derek Westen. I and another professional have been pilots for almost 50 years and have always loved general aviation. We formed a corporation called Just Plain Fun to purchase a brand new Piper Malibu Mirage, and we've just been thoroughly enjoying it for both business and pleasure. The plane that we found was in Kentucky, and I have once before bought a plane out of state, so I was aware of the interstate tax exemption issue. I believe I found Aero and Marine tax professionals online and interviewed Tom Alston by telephone at some length, and I was persuaded that I should go with the company rather than try to do the work myself. I should add that I'm an attorney. For the one plane I purchased before, I did do the work myself. In this case, there was more at stake, and the law had changed, so I decided to use Aero and Marine tax professionals. About 20 years ago, after we purchased a Bonanza, I did the entire process of applying for the interstate exemption myself. I am an attorney. So this time, the major questions I had is, had the law changed enough that I should use a professional who specialized in it? Would it save me time in the end, and would it be worth it? And after discussing the issues at some length with Tom Alston, I concluded that it had become complex enough, there was enough at stake, my own time was too valuable, and that I would be better served by having them assist us. The transition from when we first agreed to hire Aero and Marine tax professionals from Tom Alston to Julie was honestly seamless. Everything went fine. There was a completely seamless transition. Whenever I needed to reach her, I always was able to do so. We were very satisfied with the transition process, and the whole initial work of setting up the accounting was necessary. My co-owner and I decided to maintain our own flight log for our own purposes electronically in an Excel spreadsheet that was on Dropbox. So we gave Julie access to the spreadsheet, and she monitored it as we made the initial entries and all subsequent entries to make sure they were complete and that they had all of the fields that were important for her ultimately to file the tax return exemption. And it was very important she did so, because we would have kept track of different information and would have had to go back many months later to complete it. So because she was involved early on, we maintained all the records we need from day one. I actually modified the sheet so that it automatically calculated where we stood at any given point of time. And we knew from the beginning that we would be successful in obtaining the exemption because Julie was involved in the process of reviewing every entry as we went through each week and month. When we found out that the state of California had granted the exemption, it felt exactly like we'd saved $60,000. Because I knew what was involved in applying for the tax exemption, I seriously considered doing the work myself. But when it was all said and done, some 6, 7 months later, I really was glad that I worked with Aero Marine tax professionals. They knew things I did not know. We were able to take advantage of important flying opportunities that I did not know would qualify for the interstate tax exemption. And it was very clear to me, especially in retrospect, that we had made the right decision to have somebody else help us rather than try and do it ourselves. I found that Aero Marine tax professionals were not only knowledgeable and expert in their field, but they really were professional. The entire process of working with them was enjoyable. I not only would refer others to them, I have referred others to them. And I would encourage you to very seriously consider it if you face the same question. When I first discussed representation with Tom Alston, he emphasized that he and whoever else was helping us would be available 24/7. And I figured it was essentially a marketing pitch. But as it happened, that was always true. Whenever I called them, they were available. I had their cell phone numbers. I always could consult so that I didn't have to worry about any pending questions.